Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have a sharp game to share with you from Linares 1999. On the white end, Veselin Topalov playing against Vasyl Ivanchuk. Okay, we have an English opening start. Only a 25 mover, so something bad happens fast, something aggressive. White goes for a fianchetto, and here we are, move 5, bishop b4 check. Knight c3, increased pressure on the pinned knight. Knight b5 holding things together. Central action, d5. White's response is a3. At the top, computer wants to play bishop f4, and then interfere with the coordination of the minors on d6 and c7 with e5, and then question the knight. The line continues like this. You end up trading knights. Sharp position ahead to be sure. Not how it is played here. This bishop questioned. Bishop takes knight. White recaptures with the pawns, takes on the split pawns. This knight keeps an eye on d6. If the knight recaptures here, black does have a pick. You could go with a capture on c4 or d4. d4 would not quite be winning. There's b4 in this position. It is a sharp line to be sure. An exchange sacrifice line. In the end, there's knight b5, eyeing some weak squares. Okay. At the end of the day, the knight not the one to recapture. B takes c it is. Knight f6. From here, bishop g2 is played. That gives a little something away to black. Computer notes knight d6. Says this is top with king e7 and then an only move here to capture on d5. In response, you could take with the knight, queen, rook to d8. If you take the bishop, this is considered winning for black. Black has a huge lead in development, not a single piece off the back rank for white. Okay, the knight does not drop into d6. Bishop g2 it is. Castles. And from here, queen b3 is played, holding on to c4. This is essentially a losing move. Computer says best is to castle, which is not really appealing because there's knight e5 here rather than capture on c4. Knight e5 is very good, and you're going to be winning this pawn and keeping the strong pawn here in the center. So this is how the computer wants to play it. Follow up knight d6, a knight exchange. Essentially saying the bishop pair is compensation for the pawn deficit and the structural defect on the queen side. Okay, not a very human approach. White's play here is with queen b3. D takes c4. It says ignore this pawn, play queen to b2. Okay, this is not the idea. With queen to b3, you're there to recapture on c4. That's what we see. Black is in a winning position. Follow up e5. Now what? This knight is a bit funny here. The queen is ready to be kicked from its defense. Bishop e6. Where do you go exactly? The knight can fall very easily from here. What's tried? Knight d6. If white castles here, just to illustrate, white castles, this knight's going to be lost. Black has bishop e6 here. Where do you go with the queen? If queen c5, knight d7, the queen officially kicked from the defense of the knight. And if queen d3, there's rook d8 and a6. The knight is out of squares. So let's see the approach here. Rather than castles, we have knight d6, bishop e6, queen d3, pop quiz, one of several I'm going to throw your way. What move would you play here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, this position here, not a question of which rook to play to d8. Trying to put this knight in a pin, place the knight in a pin, runs into a trick, so it doesn't matter which one you go with. In both cases, white would have knight takes b7, landing a fork. Rook takes queen, knight takes queen. You save the queen, there's knight takes rook. So, throwing the knight in a pin does not work. What does work, moving the game e4. The queen has a responsibility. She has to watch over c3. This is going to hurt. King not castled just yet. What follows? Knight takes pawn, knight exchange, bishop recaptures, another pop quiz, multiple choice one. Which rook are you going to place on d8? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, the question here, working with these three open, half-open files, which two are more purposeful? The way to answer this is to look at the king, still in the center. Now, if this king was already castled, you would think maybe a bit more long-term. You would look forward to arranging your rooks on the C and D files, this pawn here isolated. But with the king still in the center, the idea here is going to be to place both rooks in the center. So it's rook A to d8, queen c2, another pop quiz. What is your move here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, there is a pin in the position. Knight d4 is there. Queen b2, another pop quiz. Feel free to pause the video. Okay, knight takes e2. This is a beautiful continuation. Look at how quickly this knight pounced on white's position, working with that pin. You take with the queen, c3 collapses. The rook's going to fall. Now, king captures knight is played here. If you don't take the knight, I mean, there's a threat here on c3. What do? I tested out this one. Bishop d2, this is going to get hurt, or this is going to get crushed. What are you doing with the bishop? You move the bishop, there's a knight discovery. If you try to hold on to the bishop position, that's not going to last. There's f5 there. So what we see in the game is king captures bishop, and the reason why this rook here went to d8, well, yep, both rooks end up on these center files. Now what? Wow. Is this big trouble for white? This bishop is ready to get at the king from c4 or g4. And in the end, this bishop is going to be in a pin. Bishop unprotected here. What a cool position this is for black. No solution here for white. What's tried? Queen b4. Can we please get the queens off? My king is afraid. Okay, that's not going to work. I tested out some other moves. Bishop here would run into bishop c4 check, king f3, and there's an exchange sacrifice. And this would lead to mate. Queen d5 check, h5 paves the way for g4 next mate. Let's say that's prevented. Now we have a few fancy queen moves. Queen d6 check, c6 check, don't try to run away. Follow up queen f6 check, and from here you would have your pick. Which one are you going with? Rook e8 or bishop d3? I'd be going with bishop d3 for mate. Okay, so that's not going to work. This approach right here by white to finally develop that bishop. Any other try? Suppose the king tries to run. Well, you're not going to run too far because there's bishop h3 check here. And now you have to go back to the e file, allow your bishop to be captured with check. The problem with blocking with the bishop or playing to g1, both run into rook d1 mate. One final continuation here to touch on. If bishop f3, how's that for a game ender? Double checkmate. Okay, the try here is with queen b4, queen h5 check, f3, f5, g4. Okay, that's a way to stop the pawn from collecting the bishop, but here's the thing, you don't even need a pawn to put pressure on this bishop. This is still lost. The try from here, a check inserted, king h8, rook e1, and after rook captures bishop check, white resigns. The queen is lost. It's reading a checkmate in 11 from here. Here's the thing. If the game continued with pawn captures rook, we'll have a mate in 3 with bishop g4 check. Only move. Queen captures h2 check. 2 options. If king e3, queen g3 is mate. And if king f1, bishop h3 would be mate. What a sharp game. Rare to see this English opening start go down in only 25 moves. Your thoughts with this one? Feel free as usual to leave any feedback to this video in the comments section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care.